So the last thing I'd like to do is take a look at a couple sample literary device-based paragraphs that you can look at as a way of evaluating your own paragraph and thinking about where you need to go. So at the end of this video, I'm going to ask you to pick one of your literary device-based paragraphs, paste it into your discussion thread contribution below all the claims that you've been working on, and just take a couple sentences to talk about, based on what we've seen here, how can you work on improving that paragraph. So you don't actually have to rewrite the paragraph as part of the discussion, but I want you to post your paragraph, take a good look at it, and say, here's what I think I need to do on this. So to give you some ideas, we've already talked about different literary devices and how you can use them as tools to unpack the meaning of words and to explore how a poet uses literary devices to make a cultural argument. Here's a couple sample paragraphs that do that in interesting ways. This is Kimiko, and it's a draft paragraph, and she was worried about it, but I really love it because she picks up one metaphor and basically really carefully unpacks that metaphor. And she walks us through what the vehicle is. She talks about what the tenor is. And she moves back and forth from language of literary device, the language of analyzing a metaphor, and specific words and images from the poem. I love this giant metaphor spanning the body of the poem. There's some really good stuff here. And then I thought this sentence, we talked about how it could maybe be phrased, clarified a little bit, but I love how it really walks us through how the metaphor works and what it means. And so many of you are mentioning really cool language, but not unpacking it. And so this example from Kimiko is wonderful because it's a whole paragraph that's really about unpacking one metaphor, breaking it into all its components, and really walking us through all of it. And then there's something else that is nice at the end. She brings us back to Rich's larger argument about what this says about women. And what Rich's concern is. So the paragraph works all around. It has a nice claim that meets all the requirements. It has a really cool discussion and unpacking of one metaphor. And then it brings everything together nicely at the end by reminding us what the larger argument is. What are the implications of this language in terms of human agency? So this is a really good paragraph for you to work with as you think about what are the key elements of a paragraph that really explores language. I wanted to show you one of Kate's paragraphs too, Catherine's paragraphs. I thought this is another example of a strong paragraph. We've already looked at this claim. It's quite strong. But one of the things that's interesting about this paragraph is the way that Catherine integrates language of literary device and literary analysis in her unpacking of words and phrases from the poem. So there we've got connote in there. I hope I can find all the examples as I went through. When I looked at this ahead of time, there were all these ones I wanted to look at. Okay, here we see where she goes to personifies. Notice how each time she uses a literary device, she spends several sentences explaining it and unpacking it more for us. And then symbolism. So we have in here connotations, symbolism, and personification unpacked with detailed discussion of language. And then at the very bottom, I really like this. I really like how there's this sentence at the end that pulls the paragraph together. We might call it a clincher sentence, where we're reminded that the paragraph's about Rich and what she's arguing about the agency of women, the human agency of women. So this is another strong structure, a paragraph that's really nicely organized that also could be a guide for you. So what I'd like you to do now to wrap up this makeup session is for you to look at Kimiko's paragraph, look at Catherine's paragraph, and see from that what ideas do you get about how to improve your own paragraph? And I'd like you to find one of your literary device paragraphs, paste it into your discussion contribution, and write a sentence or two at the bottom saying, looking at this now, here's what I want to work on. All right. Thanks for all your work. See you in Canvas.